Hi guys, and welcome to Storytime with Sean, episode number 9. This one is called Greta and Dina. Again, as I say the previous ones, it'd be nice if you guys shared this around, left me a comment, said anything about how you felt about it, because, that would be cool. Anything like that, whatever you want to say, but, now we'll just go into the story. Here we go. There are probably billions of bars in the universe, but who knows? Everyone who started to count them didn't get very far because they were spending all their time drinking in bars. There are bars for anyone and everyone. Quiet bars, dance bars, high-class bars, illegal bars, brawling bars, you name it. One of the toughest and meanest bars is called Greta and Dina's. It's the perfect bar for all the universe's most dangerous outlaws and rogues and heroes. The bar has the most fights per customer out of any bar in the known universe. For example, there's two guys sitting at a table drinking heavily, and one said to the other, "I'm not sure if I've ever been in love before." And the other guy stood up and punched him right in the face. So they started a brawl. This is not to say that the bar patrons were too manly to talk about feelings or anything like that, just that those two guys didn't really like each other and they had way too much to drink that night. Greta and Dina's was no place for that hyper-masculine bullshit of tough manly men thing, as exemplified by the next table over, where there were two guys just sitting there having a tearful heart-to-heart about their love loss and their feelings and all that kind of shit. The bar was the place for general good guys, even the ones who didn't play by the rules. But it wasn't possible to keep all the riffraff of bad guys who tried to stir shit up out of the bar at all times. But for the good of everyone, Greta and Dina wasn't just the name of the bar, but also the name of the owners of the bar, who happened to be badasses. Sure, they're old ladies at this point, but back in their younger days, they were wild, amazing adventurers. Greta slayed the mighty Smargle, Dina destroyed the Deathbringer comet which saved an entire galaxy, and on their wedding day, they stopped Dr. Bad Guy from killing the Fluffoids by decimating him in a dance-off. They were tough, heroic, and multi-talented. And they still are. When a bad dude comes rolling into the bar, they toss him out, and everyone rejoices and usually drinks a lot more. They were also noble and honorable to a fault, which made for some suspenseful but very exciting events at the bar. People often challenged Greta and or Dina to competitions where ownership of the bar is on the line. This bar may be really tough, but it sure pulls in a lot of business, so the owners tend to make mad stacks. One time, two men in bandit masks and comical Wild West get-ups barged into the bar and began shouting, "I'm Commander Darn, and this small person is my tag team partner, the Worst Dick. We've come to challenge you, Greta and Dina, to a tag team space wrestling match for ownership of this here bar," Commander Darn called out to the entire bar. I hope that was just a name they gave Dick, and not any commentary about his actual genitalia, a random bar patron whispered to their drinking buddies. The Worst Dick gave that guy a suplex so hard, it smashed the dude into a tiny black hole that swallowed up all his pals before collapsing in on itself. These guys were the real deal. Total, dangerous bad guys. Dina let out a loud whistle that signified to the bar-goers that it was time they moved to the walls so they could get out of the way. Greta then flipped a switch behind the bar. With the floor cleared, bleachers rose up, and a ring rose in the center of the place, and a little table with a little robot announcer popped up next to it. The four wrestlers took to their corners. "Tonight we bring you the battle for the bar. In the cool corner, Greta the Great and Demolition Dina," the robot announcer said and waved a hand in their direction. Greta wore a singlet that looked like how someone would depict a Viking in an old cheesy opera, all golden with spiral boob cups and a helmet with little wingy things on it. Dina was dressed kind of like a construction worker who wanted to be a pirate, so she had a neon safety vest with big overalls, an eye patch over her eye, and a Jolly Roger printed on her shirt. The crowd went bananas. Cheers and hoops and hollers. They loved Greta and Dina. In the obvious bad guy corner, our challengers, Commander Dawn and the Worst Dick. The robot gestured towards the guys, and the crowd continued to go wild, but in a way more negative fashion. "When we win, none of you can come back here," Dick yelled. The crowd replied by throwing a hot dog in his face, which was both an insult and the traditional signal that the match should begin. "Now it's time to wrestle," the announcer called out. Greta and Darn charged towards each other and locked arms and butted their heads. "The bar will be mine," Darn growled to Greta. "Fat chance," she retorted as she kicked his feet out from under him and put him in a leg lock. The crowd stood and cheered as Commander Darn struggled in Greta's grasp. Dick jumped into the ring and grabbed Greta's head. Greta let go of Darn and stood up to deal with the small guy attached to her head now. Dick had blocked her view with his torso and was punching her head. In a very funny scene, except for the part where it looked like the bad guys were winning. Darn decided to take advantage of the situation and started punching Greta in the stomach, as Dick punched her in the head. Dina decided this was the perfect time to step in. She jumped in, ran across the ring, and did a dive kick into the ropes, creating a Dina missile that flew fist first into Darn's chest. Dick wasn't having any of that, and he kicked off Greta's face towards Dina, who was wailing on Darn's face at this point. Dick picked her up and tossed her over into Greta, and the two collided in a big mess. Greta and Darn were not in the best shape at this point. Greta stood up with Dina's help, to much cheering from the crowd. While they were getting psyched up to finish off these chumps, Commander Darn pulled out a laser gun and shot it in the air. The crowd booed even more, as someone threw a waffle at Dick, which is pretty impressive, because how did someone get a waffle in here? "This bar will be ours. Hand it over or you die," Commander Darn screamed as he pointed the gun at Greta and Dina. Now, this wasn't really a decent move, but there really aren't any rules in space wrestling. Also, those guys are totally the bad guys. Greta and Dina looked at each other and sighed. "Fine, you can have the bar. It's all yours," Dina said dejectedly. The crowd gasped, and Darn and Dick stood on the corner rope, flipping the bird to just about everyone. While they weren't paying attention, Dina grabbed Greta's arm and began to spin in a circle, faster and faster. Darn felt that something wasn't quite right, because the crowd had become totally silent, and he turned around. Dina had just reached incredible speeds in her spin, and let go of Greta, who flew feet first directly at Darn's face. Darn screamed like a stupid baby and fired his laser, which bounced off of Greta's reflective boots and hit Dick right in his face, killing him dead. Greta let out a warrior yell, and her feet hit Darn, kicking him so hard he flew out of the bar, into space, and directly into the nearest star. "Greta and Dina win!" the robot announcer announced. The crowd completely lost it at this point, yelling and screaming and throwing flowers into the ring and drinking more alcohol than physically possible. The party to celebrate the win lasted a full space month, which is only slightly longer than the usual victory parties at Greta and Dina's bar. The end. Hey guys, thanks for listening to Storytime with Sean, episode number 9, with the Greta and Dina story. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what you thought about it, or anything that you wanted to say. You can, leave a comment under the video. Nice to get a like and a share, and, all those other YouTube-y things. I appreciate everybody listening to this. Thank you very much for doing that. You guys are awesome. I like that a lot. You're helpful. So would like to hear some feedback, because nobody said anything. I'm just enjoying doing this. It's fun, and it's nice to write things. I like writing. I'm finding that that's what I like to do. Otherwise, the next Storytime with Sean will probably be the same time, same place. And, follow me on Twitter, like the Facebook page, whatever, all that stuff. And I hope everybody had a good 4th of July weekend if you're from America, which probably most of you guys are, I think. I don't know. I don't have any idea about any of the people that listen to this, really. Well, I recorded this super late, so I'm tired. That's it. Have fun with your day, and have a good week. Okay, come back for the next one. Thanks, guys.